Oh, okay. Under what circumstances would a Scrum Master advise a product owner to cancel a sprint? Okay, so we can cancel sprints, and by we, I mean the Scrum team, and in particular, the product owner can choose to cancel a sprint, and they would only do so really when the goal is no longer valid. When in planning, they've chosen a bunch of stuff to do, they've sat down and they thought, why does this matter? Why is it worthwhile taking this sprint on? And they've developed a sprint goal. When that goal no longer makes sense, we may cancel the sprint. And very purist people might say you have to, but I can come back to that at a later date. So that's the only reason to cancel a sprint, is when the sprint goal is no longer valid. So as a Scrum Master, when am I going to be advising on that? Simply when I see that the sprint goal may no longer be valid. Okay? I am one voice. The product owner has the decision making. So this isn't really my decision. Okay? I can advise. I can say, I don't think this is right anymore. In fact, what I'm not going to do is go to the product owner and tell them. I'm going to get the team together and say, this is what I'm seeing. This is my concern. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let's have a chat. It doesn't have to be a big detailed conversation. You don't have to document and do all those things, but put it on the table. I've got a worry that the goal no longer makes sense, that we don't need to explore that space because of where we're going next. I'm recognizing, because I'm outside of the delivery, that maybe we're chasing the wrong thing. Okay? What I'm trying to do there as a Scrum Master is explain my thinking. Okay? Explain the position, not to sway people, not to influence that decision, but just to put the facts on the table so that the product owner ultimately can make that decision. Ideally, with the developers on board, everybody goes, John's right. You know what? We're so heads down trying to get stuff done that we've lost sight of what's important. And because of things that have happened in this sprint, what we're chasing after is no longer important. That might happen. What's more likely to happen is John's an idiot. He got it wrong. And we can tell him to shut up and go away and continue on our merry way. Sprint goals are deliberately flexible. They mean that you can achieve the goal while not achieving everything you said you would. The idea is to have a goal, something common to bring people together. Your goal should not be, please don't let it be, we will deliver these 10 items that we've brought into the sprint. That's just delivering 10 things. Okay? There's no motivation there. So instead it's something bigger that unifies the team, and the likelihood of that truly becoming obsolete within the short windows that we work in, the few weeks, is slim. It can happen, but it is slim. And I would expect, as a Scrum Master, you may have the first sign, but when you have it, the developers, the product owner are going to be not far behind you, and that conversation is going to be a pretty quick, does this make sense? No, it doesn't. That's happened. That means we shouldn't be doing this. Okay, how do we close out the sprint and go again? But what you want to do as a Scrum Master whenever a sprint is being cancelled, whenever it's being stopped early, is have that conversation, consider the implications, right? Because we have to stop the work. Okay, that's part of it. What's going to happen to the morale of that team? Are they going to feel good because you've just told them, or the product owner's just told them, more accurately, that we don't really want that work anymore? Likely not. Work with the team to come out with what's the right way to close down this sprint. If we're only a few hours or a day away from review, maybe the right answer is let's finish it, let's keep the review because the stakeholders know when to turn up and where to turn up. And we can have that conversation with them at the right time. Okay. It's not ideal. Are we potentially doing things that we don't want to do? You can still flex that. Don't get me wrong. Don't build stuff you know you no longer need. But normally, in my experience, even when a goal is cancelled, the stuff is needed, just not as urgently. Okay? Or is it early in the sprint where actually we can just call it a day, pretty quick? Yes, we've lost some time. Okay? But it's the right thing to do. And everybody on the team's on board. In which case, finish your sprint early. Review everything that is done. Have a retrospective. I would suggest the topic being, how is it we've come to cancel a sprint? Okay. Everything else goes back on the backlog and you start up your next sprint. So as a Scrum Master, we don't cancel sprints. We can advise, in fact, I would recommend, if you spot it, advise, but I would recommend opening up a dialogue with the whole team. Have that conversation so that everybody understands where thinking is. You can check your own thinking as well, so that as a team, you move forwards together. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.